Please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdates 230808.1. We really need to get back on track and nuke Subfleet, so I can continue my whole, I don't know what I'm trying to do at this point. But to do it, we need to press on and complete the Huntress of Domination, or Bob, because I can't be asked to say that full name over and over again. Or we simply turn Bork into a Ferengi. Trojan. Ferengi. Yeah. It's an idea. Over the many years of his existence on YouTube, I have tried my best to avoid Fusi. The reason why is because I'm not entirely sure how many times the internet can collectively aid him for him to then break down, rebuild, come back, and rinse-repeat the cycle. He has his own cycle akin to that of Amberlynn Reid and her diets, Chantal and her angry rage streams, Nick Ocado, his cycles just rinse-repeat, entertain the masses. Fusi is a lolcow. Simple as that. He always has been though. His constant contradictions, his erratic behaviour, and his constant need for validation. I have no earthly idea how it is that he is still about to this day. I could have sworn he got rid of his channel. I could have sworn he tried to host a live event and that went down like a ton of bricks. I could have sworn he bought his parents a house but didn't at the same time. I could have sworn he tried YouTube boxing and got stopped because he barely threw any punches and gassed after he got hit once. Yet somehow, to this day, Fusi is still going. On August the 6th, I noticed, courtesy of Nick Diorio, a video. It was being shared about anyway, and I had no earthly idea what it was. I'm going to play that video, and we're going to try and understand what the feck is going on, before we proceed to go through other interactions from other creators, including more from Fusi.
Can I say something real quick? Hey, to everybody who's sitting here like, oh my god, you kissed her, da-da-da. This woman was involved in sex trafficking.
That statement alone is quite a fascinating take. I kissed because sex trafficked. That's justifiable. It doesn't at all come across as condescending or a pity, or a delusional take from somebody who has surrounded himself yet again with people who are leading him down the wrong path.
The guy who manipulated her and brainwashed her is a piece of fucking shit and deserves to die.
While there are many who would go down the path of short drop, sudden stop, or other forms of unalive, I will fundamentally disagree and suggest instead life in prison. It is also remarkably intolerant of you, somebody who preaches, from time to time, a more peaceful attitude when it suits you.
So yes, I sent her $300 so she can start removing her tattoo and see her kids this weekend. I'm against that. I'm a sex addict.
Please tell me what you're against exactly, because we know it's not tattoos, you tattooed your own hairline in. And you being a sex addict does make me laugh because I can't imagine many women want to sleep with you. Of course, you're about to explain how you're a sex addict in the very next take, which raises other questions, other really effed questions.
A lot of the women that I used to get handjobs from were sex trafficked, and I'm so ashamed in that.
As you should, for many, many reasons. In fact, there are so many questions, I highly recommend you speak to an attorney and a police officer in the same room. Those who are victims of that form of trafficking are being coerced into doing things they do not want to do, which means they cannot give reasonable consent to any act they are forced or compelled, if you want to be picky and use alternate language, to do, perform, act, which makes you, based on those parameters, an S offender. That's what I consider you right now. That might to many be considered a bit edgy, a remark to make, but I'm happy to stand by it because he has admitted those who have been trafficked, according to him, have given or performed sex acts on him.
So if I have a chance to help somebody...
What's tragic about that sentence is he didn't finish it. Instead, this particular clip from this live stream on Twitch ended with him saying the following.
Sorry. I just joined the Mile High Club.
With himself, no doubt, and I doubt his hand consented. It is strange to me to see Fusi fall yet again when he keeps on picking himself up, doing something that seems to be him rebuilding, staying there for a reasonable amount of time, but to then somehow bump into a person who in turn introduces him to many other people that leads to him changing in such a drastic way that he crashes and burns and has to rebuild yet again. I genuinely thought his time on YouTube was done when he sold his channel, or gave it away, I can't remember which. I assume for a bounty bar. I had thought that perhaps instead of treating his faith like an accessory, which he does from time to time, he would perhaps consider using it to give himself some stability in his life. He is somebody that requires that. But no, instead he's continued down this path and decided others that need to be called out for calling him out for his crappy behaviour would include the likes of Def Noodles, who himself is in the process of building himself anew on a channel called Def Noodles New. Turns out, one of them has learnt their lesson and is doing good for themselves. The other is Fousey. I'm going to play that clip as well.
Def Noodles, if I knew how irrelevant you were, I wouldn't have responded. I thought you were still popping. My H3 family told me how irrelevant you were. I'm sorry your career fell off so much, but my mental health is not going to be a resurgence, buddy.
I've often found it quite baffling that people believe you have to be relevant to be worthy of being responded to. Now, I get it for the sake of clicks. There is a point to that. But when someone is correct, regardless of them being relevant or not, they are correct or incorrect. Def Noodles has on his new channel called you out a number of times, and the Island Boys, but that's something else incestuous and disgusting. He's called you out because while streaming you've been in car accidents, and he's been calling you out on Twitter because you've been very, very erratic. You come across as inebriated, and you are clearly in with the wrong people, but that's often the case with you. You are quite easy to manipulate, it seems.
I'll f*** you up, and if I see you in person, wallahi on my mother's life, I'll sock you in the face.
After seeing how well you boxed, please don't bring your mother into it. You'll only end up embarrassing yourself and bringing great shame to your family. That's not to say Def Noodles will beat you, it's just you're not a very good fighter. Your ring prowess against Deji Alex Wasabi certainly does you no favours. You're not the youngest, you're not the most agile, but you are clearly compromised.
I don't want to resurge your career.
No offense to you, FouseyTube, and I'm not going to defend Def Noodles here, but I do believe he will build his own career if he wants to through hard work, and perhaps being in better communication with his fan base or his community. Build back stronger, hard work paying off, right? Doesn't need you for that. He's a commentary channel like myself. The fact you've taken great umbrage with Def Noodles in the first place, though, is quite fascinating to me, but also speaks volumes with how little you actually keep in touch with YouTube itself. You are so far removed from it because of how high you live, in whatever high and or cloud you exist within.
Don't use me for content, brother. I swear to God, wallahi, even if I'm live on Twitch, I will sock you in the face if I see you. I don't like you. I don't appreciate you. I don't like you using people's mental health as your financial gain.
I don't like you when people violate Twitch's terms of service by threatening violence upon another person to justify because they can't handle a bit of criticism from others who say to you, get help, please. You are threatening to attack, physically harm another person because words hurt you so bad. You yourself have responded to people over the years. You yourself have criticized people over the years for content. You have mocked people. You have degraded people. You yourself have contradicted yourself in one video already. You've justified kissing someone because they were trafficked, yet you yourself have partaken in using the services of those who have been trafficked. One rule for Fousey, but not for anyone else. And I think, based on Twitch's own rules, you should have been suspended for that one comment alone.
I will f*** you up if I see you. Def Noodles, if you ever see me in LA and you come up to me, even if I'm live on stream, I'm gonna sock the f*** out of you. I'm sorry.
Clearly you're not. Keemstar had tweeted out, I'm so mad. Imagine being on your 14th chance of a career and ignoring everyone's advice that was there with you when you were at the bottom. Then start listening to only your new friends that only F with you because your career is taking off. How you treated that woman was so disgusting and manipulative. Not to mention you admitting to playing a role in sex trafficking in the past. WTF. I tried to keep my cool online yesterday, but today I'm even more mad. I think currently he has 3 different versions of the story. So basically he's just flat out lying or has lied. During the subathon, I've been constantly checking in on his mental health, and the only time he says he has a mental health issue is when he's getting cancelled for bad behaviour. I'm just so pissed at all of this. Feel like such a backstab to everyone who's been trying to help you. During that subathon, he said, "Nobody was there for me when I was down. Everyone was there for him. All the relevant creators that could support him, could back him, help him, stand up again. They were there for him." So Keem did reply to Dean the Great, who had said nobody was there for me when I was down, the quote, by saying, "You know more than anyone, he was never alone. Us checking on him daily. Bro, he's on video saying we checked on him daily, then says no one was there for him. The manipulation never stops." Now the clip I played carries on for another minute with him basically dancing around to some music. I'm not going to play it, copyright claims and all that, not worth our time. He comes across as highly inebriated. Def Noodles did put out an 18-minute 25 response to Fousey threatening him, going through the earlier mentioned car crash-ish incident, along with many tweets of Fousey coping quite badly at those criticising his terrible driving. The fact he was clearly compromised because he wasn't focusing on the road. On Twitter, Def Noodles did put out a lengthy tweet saying that Fousey's latest spiral was concerning. The man is clearly reaching a new manic state, and the 24-hour live streaming is putting it into overdrive. And I do tend to agree with him on that. You don't have to like some of them to be correct, by the way. I actually got to see him in a party in Nashville recently, and the dude looked dead in the eyes. 10,000 mile stare, completely absorbed by his newfound relevancy. It's sad to see someone rebuild themselves only to repeat the same mistakes of their past. I truly hope he's surrounded by people who will have his back when things go down, because if we've learned anything from the career path of other IRL streamers like Ice Poseidon, the rise is fast but the fall is brisk, painful, and you lose everything including your dignity. This is what triggered Fousey. When somebody is clearly falling hard again, it is understandable they won't see sense unless the right people can get through to them. But everyone that was there for him in the past, he claims was never there then. Which means those people who put themselves out for him then are going to feel burned, like Keemstar. Which means those that are willing to put their neck out for him again are going to diminish because they're going to feel betrayed. The chances of turning around diminish each and every time you do the same thing, your cycle repeats. It gets harder and harder to break from that cycle. It's why you see those on weight loss journeys on YouTube fail, and none of them have really succeeded. Certainly none of the mukbangers. In the case of Fousey, he is very, very vain, very narcissistic. So when he gets that attention, he just wants it. It's all he wants. And it causes more problems than good. Subathons are dangerous at the best of times. IRL streams are kinda crap. They are not as crap as those like XQC and Hassan Piker just watching videos all day, but they're close. A day later, after this had happened, so today actually, Fousey put out a video on Twitter with the tweet, "Own your ish, you versus you, G7 emojis." There's a level of self-awareness in this, but I think it comes across as a bit trivialized. The replies underneath are pretty much in favor of him for being self-aware and recognizing where he can improve, but I tend to feel this might be a little disingenuous because he's repeated these mistakes so many times at this point. It is the very definition of insanity to expect a different result when you do over and over again the same thing and ignore some of the quite frankly heinous remarks he's made about things he's claimed to have done.
A lot of the women that I used to get handjobs from were sex trafficked.
The simpery is strong in some of his followers.
Now running and have a steam room to do. This ain't on anybody but me. I gotta sharpen my mind. I gotta sharpen my tools. I gotta go back in and rewire myself and get myself back right. No one's responsibility when you fuck up except for your own.
While I can fully agree with the concept of what you have espoused as a message, it rings hollow when you've had to say this to yourself and broadcast it publicly so many times. And I would want anyone to improve, but for you I think you need to go see a police station first and talk about those handjobs. I really do, because that is beyond effed up. And I don't believe another chance is warranted, because that's not an F-up, that's a crime. You trying to act like a motivational speaker is hollow. It is virtue signaling to make it seem like you are something more prophetic, when, as is often the case, you are pathetic. Especially when it's less than 24 hours after you threaten to knock someone out if you see them. You handle criticism so well.
Take accountability for your shit. Own your shit. Fix your shit. There's a difference between doing something wrong and then not doing anything about it and doing it again.
Do you suppose he's talking to his audience to encourage them to be better than him? Or do you think he's saying it to himself? You know what, at this point it doesn't really matter, does it? And I'll go back to my point from very early on in the video. I didn't even realize he was still about. But that's relevancy for you, isn't it? Someone like me who is highly irrelevant, not knowing there are others who are not as relevant or more relevant, more irrelevant than me? Yes? You know what, it doesn't matter. At this point, I'm just going to start confusing myself, trying to understand the bollocks that comes out of Fusi's mouth.